Anyway, Will,
Yes.
you have a new name.
Oh, is that true?
Yep.
Well, of course I do. I transitioned.
But Will is now your dead name because I christen you Sophronia.
Sophronia?
Sophronia.
My memory is like trying to piece together everything that happened regarding that.
What happened?
So, Dav and I went to the botanical gardens last night. It was the spooky lights walk. They had it all decorated late at night in Halloween spirit. And we, took some, let's call it power-ups before entering the maze that made the sparkling lights very psychedelic and very interesting to look at. And at some point, we break for a small snack because they have little food stands here and there. Dav got an exquisite loaded French fries, and I got a wonderful hot apple cider with whipped cream and caramel. It was like chef's kiss. And as we're enjoying our snacks, we hear this white woman loudly behind us explaining that her daughter's name comes from a fantasy novel, and it is Sophronia.
Oh, that's an awful name.
Well, it's yours now,
Like,
bitch.
come here, Daenerys.
It's yours now, bitch. You are Sophronia.
Yeah, well, Tommy, that's transphobic. So,
No, it'd be transphobic to call you anything else. Will is your dead name, and you are, the woman that you are, rechristened, new life. You are Sophronia. Isn't
yeah,
that
I think I'm
beautiful?
transitioning back after that. What the fuck?
She was she was like talking to some people about it, and like I think at one point she asked if they could like try to spell the name, and it's like an insane spelling. And she was also saying like, oh, when I was having my second daughter, I was like trying to figure out what to call her because I couldn't just have like one girl named Sophronia and one named like Jane or something.
I think she also said it was like and I warned my husband up front, if we have a girl, it's gonna be Sophronia. Non-negotiable. And I was saying to Dab, I don't want to like make a cringe culture thing of this. Like, if you like Sophronia, sure, cool. But I feel like when you like name your kid after like a fandom thing, like a book, it's kind of like making them like it. You know what I mean? That's where it's like a step too far for me. Like, you will be Lucius Malfoy, and it will be your favorite thing. You have no choice.
It's
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
bonkers.
that poor daughter. Jeez.
She's probably gonna go by Sophie by like age 10, and her friends will be like, "Hey, Sophia," and she'll be like, what? Oh, yeah, yeah."
Like the Family Guy Megatron bit.
Yeah.
You even brought that up last night,
Yeah,
right,
that's
Tommy?
that's
The
what I thought of. Is that
Megatron
it's
thing.
like Megatron Griffin. Robots in disguise. Speaking of robots in disguise, I think we saw a ghost yesterday too.
Well, then that would just be a ghost, not a robot in
Well,
disguise.
When
because
did we see it?
So remember, we get back into your car, and there is this really lavish looking. Was it a Tesla? Just like a really
Oh yeah, there was a white Tesla
super, yeah, a
parking
white
lot.
Tesla, super expensive looking. And I
We
think
parked
it was
pretty
like,
far out. We parked in like a parking lot, and it was just kind of remote and dark. So we were like,
mhm.
and we were high, so we were like, oh shit, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. And we pass, and we peek into the Tesla, and it's empty. We can absolutely tell. And I like lumber into the dev's car. I'm like scared because we're parked next to like a children's park, and at 9 p.m. it looked really fucking scary. And I look over, and the Tesla hums to life and moves out of its parking spot. And my first thought was, oh, I guess while I was looking at the park, someone crawled into their Tesla. And then so we're kind of just headed in the same direction as the Tesla. We're driving behind it, And then the Tesla stops for this like affluent looking family of these four old boomers. And we're like, is no one driving the car? Like, we just got that vibe. And the doors swing open, and all four people get in, including into the driver's seat.
Oh yeah, that's not a ghost. It's something worse. It's the Tesla autopilot.
Yeah.
More people have died from that than ghosts.
Well, it was just like so bad. And then like they take off, and it's like the car takes on a different jaunt. Like obviously it's still just rolling on its wheels, but it's like, oh no, someone's driving it now. So we were like behind a lifeless car then for like a small stretch of the parking lot. It just hummed to life and consumed it. And the thing is, I was kind of freaking out because, hi. And also, like, I was like, I don't know if it. And the lady who opens up the Tesla, I think, looked at us. I think she might have heard us. Dav doesn't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that, like, I mean, I don't think that she had like the awareness to like hear and interpret us or give a shit what we were saying about her.
Right. In her stupid car.
Just
And her probably morally bankrupt vote in the election.
yeah. Well, that's we'll have more news next time on the
Oh
Oh,
next
boy.
Jesus.
podcast about which direction the country's going to be going the next
Yeah,
4 years.
it's gonna be like Will can't be on this podcast anymore because she's trans. So
But introducing Sophronia!
Yeah.
Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I voted blue and I'm pissing myself out of fear, and I'm Tommy.
and I also voted blue. And if Tommy's pissing himself with fear, I think my bladder fucking exploded with fear at this point. And I'm Will.
And I voted blue, and I'm pissing myself because I have undiagnosed type 1 diabetes and my blood sugar is exceedingly high, and I'm Dav.
All right. Well, and Will, you don't have to mask on the podcast. You can introduce yourself as Sophronia.
Yeah, go ahead. Come on,
It's okay.
Sophronia.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Sophronia, and
Sophronia, what's your kind of favorite food?
Sophronia's favorite food is Sophronia.
All right, put a socket in Sophronia. We've got our 3 life or death trailers. I was lucky enough to come across 3 of the spooky variety. I was a little nervous for a sec there, but I found some good stuff that matches the season. Because it is our spooky episode, and you'll find terrible baby names and haunted Teslas and Republicans and more. But scarier than all of that, potentially, is The Monkey. It is the next film by Osgood Perkins of Longlegs fame, an adaptation of a Stephen King short story. As far as I and it dares to ask the question, what if there was a monkey? It looks fucking bananas, no pun intended, because it's like I don't even know. I kind of don't know. I think every time the monkey claps its little cymbals or whatever, somebody dies in the most batshit fucking way. There was like a baby stroller on fire in this trailer. Um, in a post, you know, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I guess, when we're in a world where we're still asking 10-year-olds, do they want sex in movies? Good on Osgood Perkins for saying, fuck you, here's a flamin' baby. Life for me, baby. How about y'all?
Yeah. I mean, I'm big into Stephen King. Longlegs, like, for me, I didn't like love Longlegs. I thought it was fine, but like I could tell that there's like the makings of something there. So with the source material, and I think I saw somewhere that James Wan is attached, and I do really like his stuff. I'm gonna give this a life too. I know Stephen King. The adaptations are either really good or the worst thing you've ever seen. So like, I gotta hold out hope.
I'm also gonna throw a life at this one. I really liked Long Legs. I don't think it was the best horror movie I've ever seen or anything, but it was really enjoyable. I kind of like that style of kind of creepiness. This looks like it's being a little bit more kind of over the top and fun, which I also really like. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it looks great. I'm giving it a life.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed it was the Long Legs guy by the trailer because it almost seems like a horror comedy, but like very, very macabre in that. I think the like tagline of the movie is "Everybody dies" or something to that effect.
I
Uh, Sorry.
Side note, but I was watching an interview with Bruce Campbell, and he said that he calls horror comedies splat sticks, and I really like that term for it.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, flat
Long Legs
sticks.
had
Okay,
some comedy to it, but it wasn't like a comedy.
right. Uh, that takes us to Haunted Paws, which is our video game trailer of the month. It's almost kind of a Scooby Doo like, with some nice cell shading art style. I like the concept. You are playing as puppies. I'm in, and you're exploring like a haunted mansion and uncovering mysteries. And it kind of looks like something, excuse me, that like Nintendogs would spin off of for the 3DS like 10 years ago. So I'm game. I'll do anything with dogs like this. I don't think we know much about the actual gameplay yet. I hope it's like I don't. That is kind of the one thing where I'm like, I don't know, because I don't think something tells me it's going to be more of a thinky than a doey, so to speak. Um, but I hope it's fun to play, and I'll try anything with some good dogs in it. I'll give it a life.
Yeah, I do think I do like the art style, but just based off the gameplay they showed, it doesn't look terribly exciting. Which, like you said, it's probably more of like a, strategy puzzle game than like a survival horror. But I mean, I'd hope it's not a survival horror. Like, I don't want to see those dogs get killed.
What
Um,
someone what someone should do is make a Dead by Daylight like, but like in the style of Scooby Doo. So it's like rated E10, and you play as like goofy scuba men and clowns instead of killing characters, you just like I don't know, tie them up.
yeah, that'd be great. But
Yeah.
this doesn't look like it. Yeah,
No.
I don't know. It just looks kind of boring. I think I might give it a death.
I respect the concept for sure. Having like more of these sort of co-op style games that are, uh, I think that we really need more games like that are kind of built around two people playing. Just because like something like It Takes Two or whatever. I feel like those types
Hmm.
of are few and far between, but they're usually pretty good. That being said, as much as I kind of like the concept for this, I kind of agree with Will where it's like I don't see myself personally being very into it. It just wouldn't really grab my attention, but respect to it. I'm gonna give it like a light death.
Okay. Get 'em wet, Haunted Paws. And our third trailer for representing the TV quadrant of our little triad. What? Sorry. Is Creature Commandos, which is coming in December to kick off James Gunn's newly rebooted, surely successful DC extended universe. I think it's super cool that they're like, yeah, it's going to be an animated thing. That's the what's going to kick off this like new take on DC. And I like that it's like they're not necessarily starting with, say, Superman or Batman. They're jumping straight to something really strange, like Creature Commandos, which is like a team I barely have even that much experience with as kind of a DC mark. I think it's picked up a little heat for being like, oh, I wonder if a James Gunn work is going to be about misfits in a found family. But like, I don't know. I like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We got the wife of Bride of Frankenstein. Weasel's back, fucking MVP. I think what I'm happiest about is that the animation looks good and not it's not immediately comparable to anything else. It doesn't necessarily. It looks like a tiny bit like the Harley Quinn show, but more like it does. It's a. I guess I'm happy there's an action cartoon with like human sized anatomical characters that doesn't look like another Netflix anime. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily. Yeah, it doesn't have the same. Like as much as I love Castlevania, I feel like we have that, and we have Terminator in a similar mold, and we have Tomb Raider in a similar mold. This one has like a little more like bounciness and color to it, which I really like. I'm absolutely gonna give it a chance. It'll be a cautious life for me. We may look upon it in the future as like the beginning of a crumble of an empire, but who knows? I'm game.
Yeesh, yeah. I think I'm probably in the same boat as you. I'm giving it a cautious life. It looks fun. I like the characters that they chose. I think it is cool to like, start with start the universe with characters that like it doesn't really seem like anyone knows or cares about too much. Besides like the times they've appeared in like, like you said, the Suicide Squad. Um I do agree that DC's in a weird spot, and I think that like this and Superman will make or break it. Um, but like James Gunn has consistently put out good work, and so I think that I have enough trust in him to say that like I'm leaning towards optimistic. I'll give it a life.
I'm gonna come right out of the gate and give this one a hard death.
Ooh.
Not because I think necessarily that this will be within its own context a bad series or anything. It's more so that I am kind of sick of the whole like it seems like DC really wants to just go all in on like anti-heroes and following villains kind of as the main characters. They got, Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn. There's a little bit of that in the My Adventures with Superman. I'm just kind of over it. Like it's a fine concept, but when it's like the main thing that they've been doing for almost a decade now, I'm kind of over it. I'm sick of seeing Amanda Waller in fucking everything at this point, and I just am not interested. I would like to see them do some more just like earnest superhero stuff and establish the universe that way before they kind of go into, oh, what about the weirdos? But yeah, that's kind of my opinion on it. So it's a death from me.
It's fair, but
I think that is fair. Yeah.
it is kind of a weird spot where I do think that like DC does have a lot of its like goodwill more centered around its villains than its heroes, which is like almost the opposite situation of Marvel, where a lot of people don't really care about those villains, and so every time there's a trailer for the Thunderbolts when I go to the movies, like it's the wettest fart because it's every character no one really cares to watch.
Yeah.
Um,
Whole fans are
yeah.
like, this is the Suicide Squad, guys. Come on.
It's Suicide Squad, but with Florence Pugh doing her Boris and Natasha voice.
It's Suicide Squad, but they took the Harley Quinn character and made her X-Men Origins Wolverine Deadpool.
Wait, what?
I would argue that Taskmaster and like his
Oh,
personality is like he's supposed to be like the loudmouth, like quick talking, and instead they're like, no, she doesn't talk. She's quiet.
she
She's got a
that
chip in her
yeah,
head.
that's true. Yeah, and it's like, oh, we have like what was it like dipshit Captain America from the Falcon show who like killed a homeless guy or something?
Yeah,
He killed one of the
terrorist.
flag smashers or whatever they're
Yeah.
called.
Oh, what is it? So he's like disgraced because he killed a bad guy.
Well, there's like a lot of stuff that like I think people like talk about with it.
I'll take
Did
your.
But I'm
Oh.
I'm not saying it's done well. I'm just saying like that's like a lot of people I think have like tried to make it not so cut and dry.
I think I have a funny feeling Optimus Prime had no patience for this man. All right. Well, you know what? Speaking of DC villains taking the center stage, that's a pretty perfect segue for Joker, Folie of Deux. Folly of Two, or Delusion, Shared Delusion of Two. I'll tell you who the two deluded people are. Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix, because they laughed all the way to the bank and gave us a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Fuck this movie. Um, I guess I've always been kind of the odd one out in that I'm perhaps something of an oracle that I've always seen Joaquin Phoenix Joker for the the bilge it is. I'm joking, of course, but I never liked that. I know you two like that movie. I respect, but I think it is kind of an abortion. And I was kind of in a place where I thought people were like, well, it's a sequel and it's a musical and it's got Lady Gaga, and I was like, okay, it can't possibly be any stupider than the first one, let alone if they with all singing, all dancing. You know what? I'm game. I throw my hands up and I'll give it a try. And the end result is maybe one of the single most miserable pieces of media ever conceived.
Yeah, it's not good. Um it's just like not only is it a bad movie, but it's also just like really boring.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the big thing. And like, I think the musical numbers could be a cool thing if they used it to be like, oh hey, here's like, in Arthur's head. But it is literally just him talking and like for the most part like walking in a circle. Like for the once in my life one was just like walking in a circle in that fucking TV room.
Yeah, there
uh
isn't really any choreography.
No. Well, I almost would have liked when Lady Gaga kind of had the center stage, but I'd say that one, Joaquin kind of shoves her out of frame 9 times out of 10. And B, whenever Lady Gaga is singing, there's either a police siren or like torrential downpour rain also in the scene. And they seem to be taking any means necessary to drown her out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the song choices like themselves, because it's a jukebox musical.
Yeah.
The song choices themselves don't ever really make any sense.
It's like, yeah, and
Except for the Joker is me.
the Joker is me. It's like I will, Lady Gaga, like the week the movie came out, released a concept album called Harlequin, and she kind of just covers every song that's in the movie. Like she does just her own. Joker is me, for better or worse, and the world on a string, and for once in my life. And she is I've listened to that album multiple times because who would have thunk Lady Gaga is a Paramount talent, and when Joaquin Phoenix isn't there convincing nearby doctors there's a dying animal on the premises, then yeah, she can belt a good tune. But she's constantly sharing space with Joaquin howling like an emaciated wolf onto high notes and being the charismaless loser he kind of always fucking has been.
I with all the kind of like news that's come out about him recently, I kind of hope he's never in anything big again because I'm
Oh,
kind of sick of
he's
seeing him.
Wait, the news that came out about him recently?
so he was supposed to film a I
Oh,
think
I know
yeah,
it
yeah.
the movie with like the gay people and then he was like I'm not doing this.
Yeah, like the day before.
He's backed out of
And
like several productions. So.
oh yeah. I think James McAvoy was like, "Oh yeah, that's just what happened with Split too." When he like
Oh.
heard about them. Like several actors were like, "Yeah, that's what he does."
It's really
um
stupid.
yeah, He's always had a history of being hard to work with, and I think it's no shocker that his best roles have always been like pathetic little shrimp dicks
Bo's
and
afraid.
Bo's. I think that's probably the one big. I like him in Gladiator too, but that's another one where he's like a little Fauntleroy. Yeah, and he's bad in this. And I guess what how I described it was that, as much as I think it's misguided that Joker 1 is a take on the character by way of like unhinged loner style movies like Taxi Driver and kind of sort of American Psycho, at least Todd Phillips seems to know a thing or two about making that kind of movie. Whereas he clearly doesn't know anything about fucking musicals. He sure as fuck doesn't know anything about theatrical cartoons. Because he really wants to hang his hat on, oh, what if Joker watched Pepe Le Pew and, like, was inspired by him, which pisses me off on an atomic level. It. What did y'all think of the cartoon it opened with? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Um.
the My Shadow and Me.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm gonna be real. I showed up to the movie late. I just thought that I didn't realize there was a cartoon.
Yeah, it opens with okay, so I'm about to, and I was almost like, oh, this sounds because it was announced that Joker 2 would open with a Looney Tune style theatrical cartoon. And I was like, honestly, that's kind of my kind of shit. Because you know that I like Looney Tunes. And I've always wanted to see theatrical cartoons return to big screens. And so I was like, oh, I know it's probably part of the concept, but sure. And people are on TikTok like, oh, this is the one good part of the movie because it's animation and I love animation. But like, really truthfully, if you can tell, if you're the kind of sad nerd like me who can tell who drew a Bugs Bunny by looking at it, you can tell it is a garbage fire of a cartoon because the artist seems to be taking these like Chuck Jones style characters and he's making them move like a rubber hose. So they're constantly bouncing and smiling and moving with like a loop to it. And I
Like
like,
Cuphead, pretty much.
yeah, they're moving like Cuphead when the designs clearly take influence from like late era Looney Tunes stuff. And it looks fucking awful. And it kind of pisses me off how any like for like and hey, props for doing animation, but like it kind of pisses me off how, anyone who bothers with animation these days will get like the benefit of the doubt when they kind of just gave us crap on a plate. That's my weird cartoon nerd corner.
I feel like that had to be
And,
like an executive note too. Like they turned in the animation originally. It didn't have the rubber hose bouncing and shit. And
uh,
somebody in like
mm,
Zaslot's
Mm.
chair was like, Why aren't they moving like the Cupheads?"
yeah, yeah, that actually would make way more sense because I would give the benefit of the doubt that an actual animator knows the difference between Max Fleischer and Chuck Jones when this is drawn like someone who thinks they're all the same fucking thing. Uh, let's see. I think the most elated I ever was in a movie theater recently was when, in the midst of the Joker's trial, a truck crashes into the courtroom, and I just turned to Dav, unable to hold myself together.
I think it was just like an explosion, right? It was like a car bomb next to the courthouse.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
no,
a
you're
car
right.
bomb.
Yeah. Because then they're in the car that they take Joker away in. After he does his Foghorn Leghorn voice, uh, there's a really good bit where Zazie Beetz is on the stand because she's the woman that Joker liked in the last movie, and he kind of zones out while she's talking out of like rage. I think he like has the Joker is me song at that part, right?
About, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of fades back in. You can just hear Zazie Beetz go, yeah, and he's ugly and he smells bad and he's probably a virgin and he doesn't know how to dress and he's stupid and he's shitty. Like cartoonishly ripping into him. I think frequently an unintentionally funny movie. Oh no, there's a lot going on here, and we have to keep this kind of trim because there's more to get to. Do we care about spoiling the ending?
Hell no, nobody should watch this movie.
No.
Yeah.
So okay, I guess I don't want to make light of what I'm about to say, but it is worth noting that Joker seemingly, or I should say, Arthur seemingly gets the Joker molested out of him.
Straight up, that's what it was. Like, there's no other way to take it.
And I don't mean to make light of the subject matter, but it is what happens is Knuckles McGinty and his other Irish bobbies swinging their fucking tonfa. No, that's not what it is. Corner him in the
Baton.
baton. Thank you, tonfa. What the fuck? Corner him in the prison bathroom and sexually assault him, and then that's when he's decided he's no longer the Joker.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
so strange.
it's
Really
offensively
bizarre.
bad, I would say.
I
And
get and
it's a mixed
yeah.
message too, because I feel like the movie kind of wants you to feel like him not being the Joker is like what's supposed to, it's like the sensible thing. It's the good ending
Mhm.
at large. And we don't care if the way that that happens is with a rape, apparently.
Ugh, yeah.
It's
And
such a strange message to send. Like, I don't know what they were thinking with this.
it has I don't and it's just one of those movies that I was backseat directing the whole time. Like there's a bit that's almost fucking cool where Lady Gaga walks by like a shop, like a hardware store where there's TVs in the window showing the Joker trial. And she breaks the window open and just takes the TV with her and it unplugs and she just walks away with it. And if I were there on the set, I'd say why doesn't she break the window open and like I don't know, this is better at least. She lifts the TV up and watches the image of the Joker. Like that communicates the parasocial dynamic they're trying to communicate with her watching him on the TV a lot better than her just walking away with the TV and it unplugging and there not being an image on it anymore. Um
But even like something like that, I don't feel like you can really fix this movie by just
no.
directing things better. It's like a
No.
flawed concept. It's fucking Todd Phillips being angry at people who liked the first movie.
Yeah.
And it's so disappointing because, like, say what you will about this version of the Joker. I was like, one of the reasons that I really liked the first one is just because I was really curious to see how this Joker becomes like the Joker. Like, how does he go from being this kind of pathetic, dumb, uh, no charisma, not very funny kind of version of the Joker, kind of in like where he's being like the inception of the Joker here. How does he go from that to being like the more interesting, funny, has a bunch of henchmen and fights Batman and shit Joker? I was like, okay, there's a lot of potential with something like that to be told, because they originally just announced this as like a musical with him and Lady Gaga, and so my mind was racing like, oh man, how are they gonna show exactly what I've been wondering about this whole time? And then, just over time the trailers were coming out and I was starting to realize that that's not at all the story that they were interested in telling. um it would have been cool if it was, but even from the start of this movie, Arthur's already kind of checked out. He's not really embracing the Joker persona anymore. He's kind of sick of it, and so you just kind of miserably watch as he's getting groomed by Lady Gaga into trying to be something resembling the Joker, and it feels like a pathetic fart the whole time. It sucks ass.
Todd Phillips said, I'll show them that I don't hate women, and he wrote his version of Harley Quinn to be a gold digging manipulator. Way to go, buddy.
Yeah, her turning out to just be like a spoiled like rich kid who just got sick of having a cushy life. That was really dumb.
It's
I mean,
there's
that entire thing with like Harley was fucking awful.
well, it's straight up a paradigm shift that's usually Joker lying to Harley about him having a rough upbringing. So they swap that. It's like that could almost be something interesting if it actually went somewhere besides Harley Quinn saying, "I don't like you. Oh, bye." Well, Joker, folie à deux, more like folie à poo. Get out of here. This was a huge flop, gigantic failure. Todd Phillips, I think, maybe headed to director jail.
Yeah.
I think he'll have a Netflix thing in like 5 years, and people will be like, and I don't feel bad because he and Joaquin both straight up said, like, we didn't really know what a new Joker movie would be, but Warner Brothers offered us so much fucking money that, like, how could we refuse? And it really shows, is what I'd say.
In order to take the money, though, they couldn't make it a full cartoon. They just had a little bit of cartoon. Otherwise, Zaslav was gonna get mad.
Yeah.
No more
This is
cartoon.
my character.
A little bit of cartoon.
This is my character, Lee Quinn, and it is Harley Quinn. Can we touch on It's What's Inside, at least? Briefly? Do we want to?
I'm trying to remember what that is.
That is
So then maybe the body switching movie.
that we all watch on
Yes,
Netflix.
yes.
I want to give a quick shout out and then like a small, because I think we're all on the same page that.
Here,
Sorry.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, go ahead.
I was gonna say this was almost one of my favorite movies. It is a big festival darling that people were like, "Oh, this is the one that you got to keep an eye out for." And I kind of agree that people like don't watch a trailer, go in kind of blind. I kind of agree, and I was like riding a total high. I was loving it, and then I thought the ending kind of shit the bed.
I think I'm like my thoughts are pretty much the same.
It's a cool fucking movie. And even though I consider it part of like our 31 Nights of Halloween marathon, in which I try to binge as many spooky adjacent things as possible every year, I consider that part of that lineup. It's not like horror. It's like I've heard people compare it kind of to Clue, and it's got some like Clue and some like almost like it's like mischievous sci-fi almost. That's a weird way to put it. But it's got like it feels like something out of the 90s almost. I think it does stuff like it does shit with social media that caused me immense psychic damage. The lead girl like looks at her Instagram early on and has this like just this small moment of her being embarrassed about her Instagram that caused me to reassess a lot of things about my own ego. I think it's it is, and Will said it's a body switching movie. It's been out long enough. I don't think this ruins it. It is about people at a wedding party who try out a device that lets them switch bodies. Don't look up anything further, I'd say. And it's very, very cool. I think it does some super cool shit with the actors kind of playing out each other's small traits and the editing. I will say it is a movie that is really nervous you don't know what it's doing. And I think the very end is very over-explainy.
Yeah.
Like, I wish there was more mystery. I think that, in concept, what happened should have happened. Yes. But they also have the characters fully narrate what occurred. And I was a little bummed. Yeah, when I was a little bummed out. And, like, it could have, like, on paper, have what happened occurred. But, like, they basically said to themselves, we don't want people to have to watch it twice to know what happened. So we're just going to lay it all out for you. And that bummed me out a lot. And then I don't want to spoil the very, very end, but it ends kind of on what feels like it wants to be part of the Good for Her cinematic universe, but it just it comes off really mean-spirited and really bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're not exactly Pearl. You're not exactly Last Night in Soho, lady.
Yeah, I'm not feeling
Just,
it.
which is a bummer, because I thought up to
gatekeep, whatever.
Yeah, and like critics that I follow that are like very, very highbrow gave this low points and said, and they like were like, look, it's fine, but it's hard to imagine a less interesting movie with this premise. And I was a little like, yeah. And
Well, I'd say it's like,
Yeah.
because you're saying that people, the kind of consensus on this movie is like, don't like go into it knowing as little as possible.
Yeah.
I'd kind of argue that while it is a good premise, I don't think it necessarily is like a special enough movie to warrant that. It's I don't.
I do agree
you
with
to know
that,
less
yeah.
than any other horror movie. Like it's cool, but like I don't know, if you're gonna treat this with a know as little as possible, you might as well treat every other movie that ever comes out with know as little as possible.
Yeah.
I think what I was trying to say was that I was getting just a bunch of texts. Sorry about that. I'll cut the weird pauses out. There is a certain audience that was being really, really precious about this, and I think it caused a bit of like people that were like super into bottoms and like the mid-tier millennial cinematic universe were like way, way high on this. And I think it's awesome for that audience. But there was some like confusion with like, oh, is it actually that good? For like the highbrow critics, I think give it a try. Don't treat it like it's as precious as like the next game changer. I think it is like the best a sleepover movie can possibly be, I would almost say. I think it's like really fucking good for that. But temper your expectations a bit. Alright, okay. Will, why don't you take it away?
Alright, so, starting off with a roast, an unfortunate roast, time to talk about Uzumaki. If y'all at home know, Uzumaki is one of my favorite manga of all time, and I think, like, with, you know, having marinated in the show and, like, the concept of Uzumaki, I think I'm comfortable saying it's my favorite horror story ever written. Uzumaki is a Junji Ito manga about a town cursed by spirals, which doesn't sound very scary, but once you actually get into it, it's, like, incredibly fucked up. And there was huge hype around the Adult Swim version, which has been in development for about 5 years. And, well, to quote Joker, it's awful, Murray. Here's the thing about the original Uzumaki. The original Uzumaki is a spiral in a story. It starts very gradually. It's a huge slow burn story with stuff that happens that's, like, weird. And gradually, throughout these chapters, it gets worse and worse and worse until there's a point where the characters can no longer leave. And I truly think that a huge part of Uzumaki and what makes it good is that slow, gradual spiral. In the fact that, like, at the beginning, things happen that are strange, but then they get worse and worse, and then by the end, whereas the first chapter is kind of setting things up, the last chapter is just constant action. And I think that works for the fact, you know, that it's about spirals. It should be, like, the fact that the plot structure is a spiral too is really cool. It's brought to life with beautiful art by Junji Ito, and the Adult Swim version is fucking awful. So the first episode, first of all, I do want to say, you probably heard it, the episode that they showed in the previews is only the first episode. The rest were done by a different studio with different directors, and it's
different studios.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty much every episode had like 10 different studios minimum listed in the credits.
Yeah. So not only is it like, I mean, there's no other way to put it, it's false advertising. To display like, hey, the first episode looks like this, the rest don't look like that. Like, that's just not okay. But also, if we go episode by episode, I don't think there's really much redeemable about it. The first episode is the best one. And it's got beautiful animation, and I think it's got perfect animation for Junji Ito. Just, like, framing of everything and the motion of things is really good. But you slowly notice that it covers multiple chapters in less than 30 minutes. And so in the first episode, despite it being, again, well animated, it doesn't really have any interest in letting the audience marinate in anything. It's just, okay, the horses to the races, let's go. And
I think when we were like booting it up, I was like, so what's this going to be, 12 episodes? And one of you mentioned that it was like 4. And
it's just not enough. It's like, I don't know, trying to adapt like all of Lord of the Rings in one movie. That's the best way I can put it. So the first episode, like I said, while it has good animation, everything just happens way too fast. There is no, like, gradual, slow spiral. We don't really get to see the characters, like, reacting to anything. Even, and I noticed this on my second watch through the first episode, the characters speak so fast. And because it's so fast, you don't really get to, like I said, marinate in anything. It's not like the slow burn horror. It's just like, look, she's got a spiral in her head, and this guy is in the box, and there's smoke coming up, and the mom's like trying to cut off her fingers, and it's like, you can like slow down. But also, like, even if every episode was animated but like the first, you can't do Uzumaki in less than 2 hours. You just can't.
No.
It's an incredible story that I think is pretty much universally praised. It needs the time and effort to make it good. And, like, I know, like, I'm obviously very critical of it. I was expecting perfection. And I know that's not gonna happen, but, like, you know, the first episode's animation was fine enough, and, like, even if the rest was animated that way, I think it would at least be, like, a 7 out of 10. But the producer said this too. There was some fuckery behind the scenes, and the reason it took 5 years was not because they were putting so much time into it. It was in some kind of development hell. We don't know what exactly happened, but the producer said they screwed us. I don't know who they is. I'm assuming it's David Zaslav, because that would make sense.
So there was someone who worked on it, I think, made a video.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I was listening to Super Eye Patch Wolf's podcast where he watched that video, so this might be a game of telephone gone wrong. Double check me if you're listening. This person described production that all 4 episodes had less money put into them together than one episode of Family Guy.
Oh, that's fucking devastating.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. That's why they had to outsource to so many animation studios in like Indonesia and all, just where they could pay them so much less money to get something out.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. And like the animation is terrible.
It's abysmal. So bad.
And to be clear, the first one was like off to a good start, and like they were saying, either we could have just aired the first episode as it was and not given you the rest. And it's like, well, just do that, honestly. Like, just say, here's a TV special of the first chunk of Uzumaki, and it looks kind of good.
Honestly, I would agree, because at least that way, you know, there would be some interest in it to be like, hey, you know, this is what people want. But like, the rest of the show is insultingly bad. It baffles me that, like, so little care was put into one of the greatest stories of all time. You've probably seen the beach running animation, but it doesn't get much better than that. In the final episode, a character falls down a pit, and it's literally it's literally a PNG being dragged down. Like, it is a PNG from the manga. That's fucking awful.
And you wonder, because they had so many delays. They've been talking about doing this for years. what the fuck was going on that they looked at what we have now and were like, okay, it's ready.
Yeah, I bet it was probably just like they're like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. We should just get done with it. But again, that's like if you're, I don't know, adapting something like my brain exploded and now I'm fucking slime in a dungeon, you know? This is Uzumaki. This is like a staple of manga. This is the horror manga. And the fact that it came out like this, with shitty animation that doesn't look realistic, the fact that the entire thing is so rushed that it basically takes every panel from the manga and makes it look worse, is fucking ridiculous.
But Will. But Will.
Yeah?
I died and got reincarnated as like a slime, and now I want to sleep with my mom. That's gonna sell a whole lot better. Like, we can sell a lot of merch off of that.
Oh, God. I don't know. I just, like... The fact that, like, everything pretty much went wrong, and I can't even really enjoy the first episode despite it being well animated because the rest is so bad, and because the first episode is so fucking short. It's just, like... It's a huge blunder, and I'm not sure how, like, they got away with this, almost. Like, I mean, I know that, like, especially if it did have something to do with Zaslav, he's probably like, oh, people don't like the Japanese mangoes, let's just outsource it. But, like, it was just, like, this was supposed to be something special. And the fact that it's not only not special, that it's not even okay, but that it is insultingly bad. That they took one of the greatest stories ever written and made it like thousands of times worse. Like, what the fuck? You know?
And the thing is, it's not like it's unadaptable. Like, there's maybe a reality where I throw my hands up and say, well, maybe it's not supposed to be a fully animated thing, 'cause the concepts are so weird. But they show, like, a good illustration of some of the more far-out concepts in that first episode. Like, when her eye is, like, flushing down the spiral. It's like, I've seen that image of the manga a billion times, because it's like a totemic, iconic piece of horror, but I've never like pictured it in motion, and that is absolutely what it looks like, and that's what like really impresses me. So they've shown that they can, it just, you know, the stars did not align, and it seems they rarely do for the works of Junji Ito in particular.
Yeah, I feel bad because I don't know. I do agree that Junji Ito's work is really hard to do, but it's not impossible. Like, this had the dude who did the Hereditary music. Hereditary, I would say, has probably the creepiest music in cinema. Like, especially the ending. And, like, the music here is really good. So, like, why would you, like, take all these talented people, pretty much, push them together, and then be like, oh, and by the way, the first episode is going to be the only salvageable one. The rest are going to be, like, animated on The Sims.
Yep.
Yeah, I am...
Junji Ito's works are just kind of cursed to not have good adaptations. Like, the one from last year, the, like, Junji Ito Maniac was, like, decent. But it was also, like, an anthology thing, so it kind of varied in quality.
Yeah.
Is that the one... Is that the one on Netflix where they did, like, the floating head one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the floating head. I would say the I think it's called Hanging Balloons. I feel like that one was done, like, really well, and, like, had a good use of CGI. You know? But, like, this one... I don't know. It's like, cause, like, especially, you know, looking at the Junji Ito Maniac stuff, the entirety of Uzumaki is worse than the worst episode or segment in that, and I think that's just fucking tragic. I hope that, like, you know, maybe someday, 20 years down the line, we'll get, like, some fucking... They'll probably adapt, like, Gyo next, which is... a good, like, I do really like that, but it is like a bit of a lower tier Junji Ito story. But like, if we're not getting Uzumaki, I'd just like to get one Junji Ito adaptation that is as, I don't even need it to be better, just as good as the manga, you know?
There's already like a Gyo anime film, right? I heard that wasn't very good though.
I know I've seen clips of it, but yeah, I think it's like, it's very just kind of, they took the concept and like made it pretty standard anime.
I feel like they should try to make like a Tomie adaptation.
That would be interesting, like a series, I think,
Yeah.
because they're episodic.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting because it's kind of like altogether one of the longer stories, but it's also very interesting in sort of the way that you can take it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Do y'all have any more thoughts on the series? Since Tommy, I know you said you weren't like paying too much attention when we watched it.
At a certain point, I was like, this is bygone. Yeah.
I can say that I've been peeking over the fence at what's been happening with Blue Lock Season 2, and I'm saying, well, at least we didn't get that.
Oh, what's going on there?
I don't know if you've seen any clips of Blue Lock Season 2. It looks like complete garbage. It is, pretty much the beach running scene or the falling down the spiral scene, but like all the time. It's like they will like, because you know, I don't, if you know anything about Blue Lock, it's like a soccer sports anime. And the first season, I've been watching it, it's pretty good, but the second season it's like, you know, they'll go up and kick the ball and it'll just be like a static sprite, and the ball will literally be like Photoshop dragged across the screen very slowly.
Oh fuck! I do think I saw that. Yeah, that's insane.
That might be even worse than the Uzumaki anime.
Yeah, but like Blue Lock is just a fucking like what, soccer anime? Like that does not deserve the respect that Uzumaki does.
Well, I think you're gonna get some people at your door for saying
I don't give a shit.
I think objectively, Blue Lock is a lot more marketable than Uzumaki. I'm just saying.
No, I do agree, but like Uzumaki is Uzumaki.
Yeah.
I think that that Skibbity Toilet is probably more marketable than like The Godfather, but yeah, I mean that's all I have to say. I am a very disappointed girl at Uzumaki. So let's continue down this downward spiral and go to Dev.
Oh, you think we're going down the downward spiral where it turns out actually that we're going to have a little bit of an integer overflow here, because I am going to toast Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening.
Ah, fuck yeah.
I played on the PC to kick off Spooky Month. I beat the first Devil May Cry probably a couple years ago now, and I had a good time with it. It was it's very fun. I think, you know, Devil May Cry combat is just really great. It just feels right. But you know, it didn't like completely capture me. I feel like Dante was just kind of a goober. He didn't really interest me that much in the first game. But you know, there were a lot of fun moments. And when I kind of went into Devil May Cry 3, I was kind of curious if I was going to feel the same way. And it turns out no, because this game is like a massive step up and improvement in pretty much every aspect. Dante is so much more fun and interesting in this game. Virgil is just fucking cool as hell. Every single scene he's in, he just steals it. And I know that this is like a prequel. I think it technically takes place before the first one. So I'm not quite sure how Dante kind of goes from this to DMC1 Dante, but that being said, I think that just overall, Devil May Cry 3 kind of really showed me why people love Dante and Virgil. because they're just both kind of the definition of just fucking cool in this entire game. The cutscenes, there were quite a lot of them. I think the first one had like a couple, and then this one has like cutscenes between every chapter, so that was pretty interesting. And there's definitely like a particular sense of humor and a style in the way that these are directed. It's like supposed to be over the top cheesy, but also like badass at the same time, and I think it really pulls that off.
Dante riding around on a fucking missile will never get old to me.
Just like, you know, sometimes you will like finish up a chapter and it's like, oh man, I don't really know where this is gonna go, and then just something fucking insane happens, and it's like, okay, this is I'm thinking of like the cutscene where he like jumps into the Leviathan's stomach, and it's shit that you just like cannot even begin to predict will just happen just for the sake of it. It would be cool if this happened. And
yeah,
it's just really respectable. The combat is just so fucking fun. Kind of being able to switch between all these different styles and kind of switch up the type of guns you're carrying and the type of melee weapons, and sort of mix and match and see like kind of what works best in any particular scenario is just super engaging. And I don't think I ever got any weapon where I was like, man, this is stupid, I'm never going to use this. Like, everything felt cool in its own way. And there was a decent loadout here. There's a few different weapons, a few different guns, and kind of just mixing and matching and trying different things was really fun in its own right. But yeah, some great boss battles. It's definitely a challenging game, but it's in a way that there was never a single time where I died and I was like, man, this game is bullshit. Like, every single time you get killed in this game, it's like, oh, I did this wrong, or I could have done this better, and you come back just like a little bit better on the next life. And that's the type of challenge that I really like with these games. But yeah, Devil May Cry 3, easily one of the best games I've played. It's the peak of the series so far, and I guess maybe the peak of the series overall. But yeah, I'm like looking forward to playing 4 and 5 and Never 2. Just
yeah,
yeah.
I think
this game.
I think people either usually say 3 or 5 is their favorite, and I think it's gonna be 3 if you like the story more, or 5 if you like the gameplay more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd argue 3 is more challenging because you can't revive with currency.
Oh yeah, another good point.
Well,
sorry.
I played the what was it, like the gold edition from the remaster, and there's like these yellow orbs that you can get to revive if you need them.
Oh.
I never really use them, but like,
Is that necessarily, because I think like in 5, the most basic of pickups you can just farm to revive. Is that correct, Will, or am I misremembering?
Yeah, you can buy your life back with red orbs.
No, it's definitely not like that in 3. In 3, it's like I think it was just added to like the special editions. Maybe you guys played like the original PS2 version, but
because we got one of the collections for like the PS4.
So I think it
Not
was
sure.
probably the PS2 version.
Because I think they did kind of a lot of the changes made as it got ported was to make it more accessible.
probably, yeah, no doubt about that. But like, even then, I feel like the orbs were kind of added in a smart way, where like they cost a shitload of money in the shop, so I never bought them because I wanted to get upgrades instead. But I could see why those, would be there and useful to make it a little more accessible.
But I'm right there with you. It's on my Mount Rushmore of all-time video games as well. It's just like, I think it's the Desert Island character action game. Like, I love Bayonetta and I love Metal Gear Rising, but you don't need any other than Devil May Cry 3.
And God, I feel like, well, first of all, which weapons did you find the most fun to have?
Well, Ebony and Ivory kind of as the main guns. Those are just really fun to use, just spamming the shoot button. And then honestly, kind of just the default sword. Like, just the kind of default loadout was kind of the most fun to me, but it wasn't like all I used. It just kind of felt right, you know?
No, I get you. Yeah, I think like I was kind of similar. I didn't really use other weapons on my first playthrough. I just like had so much fun with, I think the environment and like you said, Dante and Virgil are just like, it's a perfect game. I think it's like my third or fourth favorite game ever.
Yeah. Oh, and there's also the styles that kind of change, like with the special button.
Oh yeah.
I kind of started off with Gunslinger, and then I switched to Swordmaster more. Swordmaster, I feel like, just adds so much like combo potential that it's kind of hard not to use it. But stuff like there's also like Trickster, Royal Guard. There was like one, I don't know if it was a style or what, but there was like at some point in the game you unlock the ability to stop time. Was just really fucking cool.
Quicksilver.
Yeah, that's a style.
So that was, yeah. I didn't use that too much. I kind of stuck to Swordmaster. But yeah, that was also a lot of fun, just unlocking these new styles as well. And kind of the way that you unlock them is cool. They're they're not just pickups or something or stuff that you buy in the shop. There's like a full-on boss and a cutscene that gives you that.
Oh yeah, I love like especially the way that kind of like both characters, both Dante and Virgil, like put on weapons. Because like Dante is like very, obviously flipping around and shredding on his guitar, and Virgil's just gets it and he's like, good.
I do fucking love Virgil. Oh man, one of my favorite villains of all time. So good.
Virgil's great, and that final boss battle against him is so fun.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was my kickoff for Spooky Month. I had a great time with it. So yeah, check out Devil May Cry 3, and it's Tommy's turn.
All right. I've also been playing a character action game related to Spooky Month. I played the RePop port of Lollipop Chainsaw, and I'm toasting it with the asterisk that I've never played the original, so it's kind of ignorance is bliss thing where I hear people like the original better, and I'm probably missing out a little. But it's also like, well, what am I going to do? Not play the new port that's easily available as opposed to the original? So, fuck it. Lollipop Chainsaw is by Grasshopper and Suda51. So it's a lot of DNA from Killer 7 and No More Heroes. But it is much more straightforward, Devil May Cry-like than either of those, if a really, really simple one. You both probably remember the hype cycle of this game when it first came out, when it was like, this video game has boobs, and everyone lost their goddamn minds, and it was all anybody talked about.
I think it was Gamergate, or I think it was like a big contributor to the whole Gamergate thing.
Mm-hmm. Also germane to what we discussed earlier is this game was written by the dialogue, I don't know, I believe all the dialogue and scenarios were written by James Gunn. I don't remember all the details of how that came to be. This was long before he was Mr. DC. I'm pretty sure he would maybe tug at his collar if he relived some of the dialogue in this game. But Suda asked him to do the writing for it. I think based on how wanting a tone similar to Scooby-Doo, because he wrote that movie. And Sean Gunn is also the voice of the main villain, which is a little fun. So, and I guess, where to start? I guess with the atmosphere, it is just like, it's what you see on the tin. Juliet is like this airheaded cheerleader who's also a zombie hunter, kind of by way of Buffy, but like way, way more cartoonish. She makes me laugh. Like, she is funny. I think what I still What I still can't help but vocal stim is it's her birthday and she goes, "Well, today's my cumpleaños." And her boyfriend is Nick, who is like this football himbo who gets bit by a zombie. So to save him from turning, she has to chop his head off and keep it like basically brain in a jar him and keep him his head tied to her waist. So he's kind of giving color commentary the whole time. He is they're having their little banter. Like, again, I don't know if James Gunn loves that this game is kind of out in the wild again, because there's points where you'll come across a big silver pole, and Juliet will spin on it with her chainsaw outward and say something to the effect of, "This attack usually works better when I'm wearing see-through heels," or something like that. Not great. It is definitely a product of like 2007, also in the sense that the zombies talk and they just love to say things like, "I'm gonna fuck your dad," as they come after you. But for all the like, strangeness that I think is like par for the course, but also weird even for Suda. Because like No More Heroes is about that raunchy and about that strange, but the context is never ogling Travis Touchdown. It's that he's kind of a weirdo and a loser. Whereas this game just really wants you to be drawn into Juliet when she's more of a weird parody of sexuality. What's kind of fun is, I'd say, number one, the villains are really cool. You are fighting the Dark Purveyors. So similar to No More Heroes, it's like a gauntlet of distinct villains that I think Suda is really good at putting together. And each of the Dark Purveyors are a zombie based on a subgenre of rock and roll. So there's the punk rock zombie who's got like a mohawk and big stereos, but like a psychedelic zombie who is like picking at a ukulele and giving out psychedelic pheromones. And the gameplay is fun, because it's like, it kind of begs, like, how do we make a chainsaw game interesting, So it kind of reasons that you have to do melee attacks to, like, weaken and dizzy the zombies, and then go in with the really slow, but, like, insta-kill chainsaw moves. So kind of what you would expect. It's much more simple than, like, a Devil May Cry, but it is really fun, because, like... Sorry?
Kind of Gears of War style.
Yeah. Because it is really fun. You can just, like, even though you are dizzying the zombies before you go in with the chainsaw, anyone caught in the crossfire, you can, like, lop off just, like, 4 of their heads at once, and it doesn't hold back. They'll give you big old crowds, and what I think keeps the game fresh is that it'll do mini games like zombie basketball, where every time you chop off a zombie's head, it'll miraculously fly into a basketball hoop, and you have to get a certain number within a time limit. I really like that one. It is written stupid. They say the R word once and did not think to remove it, but I think that makes it all the more true. It comes down to, you are playing a game from 2007, written by James Gunn, who regrets his old tweets. And I think it's just a weird encapsulation of that. And again, I'm aware that I think it's missing some licensed music, but it is like a very short, very fun little game. You could, I don't know, about an afternoon or two, if you're really devoted, you could knock it out. And I think it's kind of worth it. It's kind of fun.
I think I would like to play the original version at some point, because that kind of knocking out the licensed music, I feel like probably takes away a lot of the soul from it.
Mm-hmm. I am curious,
It's the reverse of the Mario movie.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm trying to, because I mean, we have an example of like Hi-Fi Rush, which has, the option to toggle between licensed music and like original music. And I feel like the only reason the original music works in that game is because they specifically designed it with the intention of being able to switch over to it. Otherwise, I feel like usually when you have to take away certain music, you kind of replace it with something just like whatever you have access to. Like whatever's in your music library. I think Alan Wake Remastered, I think, had to do that, and that's a real shame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess I would argue that it seems like Hi-Fi Rush is much more like the music is more integral to the gameplay because you're like fighting to the beat. So at least that's not quite. But I guess I am really curious if like they got a more esteemed or official song to go with like the really specific music parodies they're doing. So that's something I definitely want to take a look at.
Yeah, there's not going to be any.
Yeah. That's about all I got to say about Lollipop Chainsaw. I had fun with it for what it was. It was kind of one of those just like, well, I was too chicken to ask my mom to buy me this when I was like 13. So I'm gonna get to play it now. Fuck it. And here we are. I thought it was pretty alright. Back to you, Will.
Alright, so, this one's gonna be a bit of a weird one. It is a roast, but it's of something I think I overall enjoyed. But I do think the conversation is important. I'm talking about Late Night with the Devil. Late Night with the Devil is a found footage horror movie, except the found footage is footage from a late night show. It stars the David played Polka Dot Man and Suicide Squad. And it's about this like show host who is down on his luck. His show's not doing very well. So for Halloween, he does an occult-themed episode. In the episode, he invites on a girl that is supposedly possessed by the devil, and as you can guess, spooky stuff happens. And I think the damn thing, the damn shame about this movie is, if it weren't for the fact that I have standards, it would be my favorite movie of the year. It's a really cool way to do found footage. Tommy, how do you pronounce the guy's last name? David?
I think it's Dashmalian.
Yeah, we'll just call him David D. David D delivers a career-defining performance in it. He is so insanely good in a way that I have never seen him before, because he's always been a great actor, but in this one, he just fucking nails the role. Absolutely. He makes this, like, kind of sleazy talk show host a really cool, like, three-dimensional character. The effects are really good. There's some practical effects, some CGI, but it's, you know, pretty lax. There's a plot twist at the end that, you know, I still would like to show y'all this movie, so I'm not gonna spoil it. But the ending is very odd, but like in a really good way. It is, story-wise, a fantastic movie. They get the talk show, like, I guess aesthetic down pat. But, as you might have known, this movie uses AI. And people are saying, oh, it only uses it for one transition. No, it uses it a lot. The show they're on is called Night Owls, and the logo is pretty clearly made by AI. It's an owl on top of a building in which the lights in the building are not, like, equidistant from each other. They're just, like, all clumped up in, like, the top left, and everything else is gone. There is a transition where there's like a skeleton and pumpkin, and it is so clearly AI, which makes no goddamn sense because this is supposed to be a talk show. I mean, obviously before AI existed. And then there's another transition with an owl that again is very clearly AI. Now, the thing is, number one, from a visual perspective, it makes the movie look like shit. You get these fantastic effects, this beautiful set, and then you get this thing in the background that is, quite frankly, shittily made, looks like, clearly AI, it really takes you out of the experience. And it's hard to say because this was an indie film, but I think I would recommend watching this, but I would highly, and normally I wouldn't be so blatant about this, you should pirate this movie. I think everyone at our viewers at home should watch it. I think everyone at home should pirate it. Here's why. Alright? Conversation with AI is definitely, like, kind of crazy now, but I think it all boils down to this. This movie is an indie movie, sure, but these pictures are very inconsequential. So why would you just throw it in an AI machine instead of having an artist do it? And I think it just comes down to the fact that they didn't want to pay someone extra. And regardless of if they're like, oh, well, we were running out of the budget, or we didn't have enough time, I think that sets a precedent that if a movie is good enough, AI is okay. Which I think it's not. Again, AI art is theft. AI is trained on art and pictures from other people and tries to create something that kind of looks like it. Therefore, that's kind of why I am, going to bat for this movie, because it's a great movie, and I think it should be seen, but I don't think that any money should go towards it. I think that, if someone is going to put AI in a movie like that, they should be fine with other people, because they created a movie with stolen work, I'm fine with the fact that they're not getting any money from that. The directors, the actors, they were all paid, anyone who actually matters. But even if it's just like one AI image, that's way too much, because that sets a precedent, again, that if a movie is good enough, it's fine if AI is in it.
I was like killing time at the mall the other week, and I wandered into a sneaker store, and it used AI, posters. It was fucking depressing.
Yeah, I think when I went to Topanga Mall, there was like an anime shop, and a good majority of the posters they were selling were clearly AI.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
I feel like people are starting to get too comfortable with using AI again. Like, everybody kind of forgot that it's just not okay to use generative AI in any capacity. Like,
yeah,
you've probably seen that, like, Twitter posts lately of like, oh, this is the only acceptable use of AI, and it's like
the fucking
cat eating a pizza or something, and it's like,
no,
that's not also either.
Like, AI uses up so much fucking energy. To do what? To generate pictures so that, like, I don't know why I'm using this name, but, David Z somewhere doesn't have to be creative. No, it's a damn shame, because, like, I think it should be known that the movie is good, but that, any AI is too much. I reviewed it on Letterboxd and made sure to give it half a star, which, again, I hate to be like, yeah, you should review bomb this movie, but you should review bomb this movie. Like, I think that there needs to be a precedent that, people are like, overwhelmingly, no, you can't do this shit,
Right.
There's also the fact that, like, I don't know if this was, like, to cover the ass or anything, but I looked it up, and the director or someone with it was just like, oh, we were just messing around with, like, 3 images, and we put them in there. And, again, well, number one, that's, like, not a good excuse, but it does kind of show that they were either complacent or trying to, like, cover, because I'm sure that the director didn't want to be like, oh, no, these fuckers, like, did this and put it in the movie and we didn't know. Like, they clearly know. But, yeah, nothing spookier than robots taking artists' jobs and destroying the environment while doing so.
I want to say, like, tangentially related, kind of on that same line of thinking. what frustrates me about the whole AI thing too. Did either of y'all see a trailer for A24's the Legend of Ochi?
I saw that the trailer came out, but I didn't watch it.
Did you take a peek at it, Dav?
No.
So it came out, and before I got a chance to watch it, I saw people that I think, in relatively good faith, at least with a good head on their shoulders, were reacting to it and saying, this looks like AI to me. Was this made with AI? And after like hearing that, I watch it myself and I'm like, oh, And just the way the camera moves and the way the colors blend just has that uncanny feel to it whenever my YouTube page for some reason hands me Family Guy in the Panavision 50s or whatever. It actually was kind of giving that. And I was kind of trepidatious. I was like, but the director takes online is like, no, this is, Ochi's like a little ET-esque creature. This is puppeteering. This is on-location filming. This isn't generative AI. And just setting aside if we, whatever witch hunt, if we believe him or not, it kind of blows that I couldn't watch that trailer myself for the first time without that kind of being in my head because it was suggested by someone, again, not in bad faith. And that might just have to be how we walk through, all of media now. Because even though I think we're still going to be, at least for a while, in an overwhelming majority that doesn't use AI, it's in the conversation that it always could. And it's always going to be nagging in the back of my head if it might have been. And it pisses me the fuck off.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's worrying. I mean, and fucking Marvel Studios used it for Secret Wars.
Right. Which, thank God, nobody watched it.
And it's pretty obvious at this point, and this is a little bit of a punch-up, but even Philip DeFranco on his fucking show a couple weeks ago tried to start using AI voice readings of article quotations.
Mm-hmm.
And he got fucking obliterated for that. People were not happy about that, and he went on the next episode oh, I guess you guys weren't happy about that. And it sucks because it's at this point, this far into it, I don't think it's a valid excuse to say you didn't realize it was bad.
Yeah.
You have to know at this point, if it's generative AI, just don't fucking use it.
Yeah.
It's been long enough. Just don't. Don't even bother.
And we all had a fun day with ChatGPT. All right, we can move on from. I have colleagues who are like, "Oh, I use ChatGPT to make my quizzes," and I'm like,
"Oh my god,
those kids are." Oh my god.
Yeah.
Not
Colonel, we are so fucked.
Nobody's gonna be able to make themselves fucking breakfast in 10 years.
God.
Yeah, except Walter Jr.
Except Walter.
You won't accept that on my Jason video got enough views that I had people accusing me of being AI because everybody has a YouTube voice, all right? Yeah.
You gotta make strange noises in your videos and make it obvious it's not AI because it's not artifacting or anything.
You have to go Nathan Fielder in The Curse.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm probably gonna suggest it for the Halloween movie night because again I really liked it, but it's not a movie you can give money to, So I'm torn in the fact that I really liked it, but it uses AI. So the simple solution to that is just, pirate it. Because that way, it's not getting any money and it's basically being not punished, because it's like, just me, but like it's
We're-
being, there are consequences to the use of AI.
Mhm. In its place, I just watched tonight. If you want something similar, but don't want all that baggage, I just watched tonight a movie called Ghost Watch, which was an actual broadcast with actual anchors from the BBC in 1992. But it was an entirely scripted prank of them like discovering a ghost in a suburban house.
I've
Oh,
heard
that's
that, yeah.
interesting.
It's fucking rad. It's pretty cool. I think the vibe is probably kind of similar in that like found footage way. So I would just say germane to that. I would say just hop on Ghost Watch instead.
Yeah, fair enough. I might give that a shot.
Yeah. All right.
And I think that's all I have to say. So over to you, Dev.
And I'm gonna go ahead and throw out another toast, and I think this is for a movie that we've all seen at this point. I'm toasting The Substance.
Venom: The Last Dance.
Yes, that's what I meant. I misspoke.
The-
Venom: The
The
Last
cooler substance.
If you ever wanted to see Mrs. Chen dancing with her big old Chen titties out, that's what I'm talking about. Right, Tommy?
I'm the picture. I'm the picture of that guy from Chainsaw Man saying out loud, "Never cook again," and holding up the piece of paper.
This is,
Says,
yes, I totally agree with
I
you.
kind of agree.
No, this is about a movie with a lot more titties in it, actually. The Substance, which is a body horror, also kind of a comedy. It's a very funny movie, to be honest. Basically about this kind of she was kind of a former celebrity, and now she kind of hosts this like aerobics show on TV. She just turned 50 years old, and as a result, the misogynistic executives are kind of easing her out and replacing her with much younger talent, basically. It's very much an exploration on kind of body dysmorphia and being afraid of aging and always trying to look perfect, especially kind of through the lens of a woman in Hollywood. And it's really, for as long as the movie is, it feels a lot shorter because it's a really dense, just well-made film. There's just constantly something on screen that's either like horrifying or hilarious. It's really a great theater experience. I would say if it's still in theaters at this point, I think it is, and if you can go see it in the theater, do so, because just hearing the audience reactions is really its own form of entertainment. I'm not going to go into spoilers, given that this is a new movie, and I think people should go and watch it. But I think the all-timer best audience reaction that I got while I was in the theater was a guy a couple seats to the left of me during a specific scene just yelling out, and this is in an Alamo Drafthouse, by the way. He exclaimed loudly, as if in total disbelief, "Is she coughing up a titty?"
I know what scene you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Man.
The movie's split up into 3 distinct parts. It would be a spoiler for me to tell you what the last part is called.
That's the best title ever, I'll tell you that much.
It certainly
Yeah.
does. The first part is about Elizabeth Sparkle. She's the kind of washed up celebrity. She has like a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and just like at this point, because she is 50 years old, she's no longer accepted and desired as much as she was in her heyday. And so she starts to take this like an injection called the Substance, and it effectively allows her to switch bodies to I don't know if it's necessarily like her younger self. I don't think it is, or just basically like a very
younger version,
young
I
woman.
think.
Yeah. Well, my thing is that if
Younger-
it's a younger version of her, then wouldn't people recognize her because she was really big when she was that age?
Right.
That is true.
Probably like younger, more perfect version.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's a young, attractive, like early 20s woman who's a lot more marketable in Hollywood. And the kind of the company that provides her with the substance is this very underground experimental thing, and they're very enigmatic. It's basically just a guy on the phone, and the thing that they try to sort of hammer into her when she starts taking it is that her current self, the 50-year-old self, and the like 20-something that she switches over to, they have to switch exactly every week, and so it's 1 week on, 1 week off, basically. And they are the same person. Like they have the same consciousness, and they have to basically go about it as though they are one person with two different bodies. And so that creates just a lot of really cool exploration of kind of this woman's mindset, and kind of body image in general. And it goes some pretty wild directions, and I was entertained start to finish. I think that a lot of the I think it's a lot of practical effects.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which is really cool. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is like the one body horror movie that was too much for me. Like, I think it is
Oh, it's
fantastic.
too much for you.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's
saying
fantastic. I don't know. I watched like Terrifier, and I'm like, you go kill those people, Art the Clown. But like the minute like some of the stuff started happening with this, I was like, I need to leave. Not like actually leave, but like I do think this movie in particular, I think, plays on like a lot of like the deep-seated fears I have, like especially about like, aging, and like, especially as a trans person, the body dysmorphia. And so I think for that it hit like a lot more viscerally for me. Like, I know you said that it's like you found it funny. I found it like horrific start to finish. Like in a good way.
To what you're saying, I think this movie is absolutely about something in a way that, say, Terrifier, no offense, isn't.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Terrifier's just about silly clown kill people.
Yeah. So I think it hits on that emotional level. Like when Demi Moore is looking in the mirror and procrastinating just going on the date because she's so disgusted with herself, it lowered my HP a bit. Oh boy.
I was gonna bring up specifically that scene is like I think the most uncomfortable scene in the movie for me. Like more than any of the body horror, it's like the most like, oh man, I feel that sort of thing.
I know. That's me praying my Hinge date cancels because I just want to be alone. But it's stupid to say, but it's also like no small part of it is that like Demi Moore at 50 is number one phenomenal in this, and people are saying she should get an Oscar. I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, I agree. This should definitely be nominated for Best Special Effects, and I think it should win too. No, wait, Best Makeup. Yeah.
It's submitted for comedy, I think, but
really,
because there's not like a horror category, I guess. What was I saying? It's also there's just a lot of and this is kind of a dumb guy observation, but there's a lot of tragedy in that she's still fucking gorgeous, but like society is just like having these impossible expectations of her. I'd also say that I'm really happy that this is like the star-making role for Margaret Qualley too. She's Demi Moore's counterpart. She's Sue, and I think that I think Demi Moore has like the kind of meatier material and maybe more like memorable moments, but I think Margaret is like just as good. And I've been waiting for her to kind of. She was in like Drive Away Dolls, which was like a non-starter, and she had small part. Yeah, and she had small parts in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Nice Guys. But this is like making her a name finally, which I've really been waiting for. I think as Sue, the like evil Barbie version of herself, she's terrific.
Yeah, the performances in this film are just fantastic all around.
Yeah, and if you want like a weird misogynistic asshole, I guess Dennis Quaid is a shoe.
Yeah, I think Dennis Quaid was the perfect like person for that part, but I don't think he realizes why.
I think he walked on set and just was himself.
Yeah. He was like, out of my way, I gotta go play Regan.
I wonder what you
hanging out with Red Letter Media.
Yeah. Ugh. But I fully agree. Substance fucking rips.
It
Yeah.
fucking rules. It's probably in my top 5 for the year. It's really great. Yeah, again, not gonna go into too much detail on this. It's very new, and if you can get into a theater to watch it, do it like immediately.
And don't look up the fucking ending.
No.
Don't look up the ending.
Like it is especially like just the first like when the character is introduced and you like see a glimpse of them in the mirror, it's like, oh fuck.
I think everyone deserves to watch that part in a theater once.
Absolutely, and I think that overall the internet's been doing a pretty good job of like not outwardly spoiling this movie. So that's good because I think the full thing is online at this point. So
I think
they
so.
could
Yeah.
be posting clips at any moment, so get in there before you get spoiled as well. That's all for that. I'm gonna pass it off to Tommy.
All right. Well, I was a little scared to break the spooky like streak we had going, but I guess Dragon Ball has like aliens and demons and magic, so I guess it's still a little spooky. How could I not talk about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? There is a just extremely particular subset of freak that's been waiting their whole fucking life for this game. Because all anybody talks about these days is that anime arena fighters suck. And there's always been that small asterisk of, but I had a lot of fun with Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 back in the day. Because what that game understood above all else is that it is not a game, it is a toy box. It is, you can put any 2 Dragon Ball characters into the ring and it will play out as it's supposed to. Or you can do wild fucking shit like kill Gogeta as General Blue. So and for a long time they like kind of skirted around like, here's a version with 50 characters instead of 100, and we slapped it out of our way and said, come on, where's the real thing? And now that they've had like 2 additional movies and a whole 2 additional anime to draw characters off of, they've introduced us to a brand new Tenkaichi game, but they went with the much better Japanese name, Dragon Ball Sparking. So this is Sparking Zero. I kind of don't know why, but it is. With a whopping 180 characters. And a lot of them are Goku and Vegeta. But you know what? They put in the work. They're from like different eras and points of the anime. I fucking love Dragon Ball. I'm sure we've talked about losing Akira Toriyama this year. The day the game came out, Dav, you and I went to Akihabara. We picked up my copy, and we go into Akihabara to kill some time. The arcade, not the city. The arcade called Akihabara in Colorado, not the arcade district in Japan. Yeah. And it was also the day Dragon Ball Daima was airing. So the people who owned the bar knew what the fuck was up. They broadcast the episode while everyone was plugging in their PS5s to the monitors that weren't playing Daima to play Sparking Zero. So I was just like in Dragon Ball heaven that evening. It was amazing. I was just having a espresso beer and checking out the new Dragon Ball stuff. Fucking 2 thumbs up. The game is fun. Yeah, shout out. Sparking Zero, so I had almost what I would describe as like a Mario Tennis moment. Because do y'all remember when you showed me Mario Tennis Aces and I almost short circuited?
Kind of,
No.
yeah.
Okay, so I don't know. Mario Tennis 64 was like the first video game not the first, one of the first video games my folks ever got me on the N64, which was my first console. And I was so fucking precious of it that it might be the video game I have the most hours in ever, just by like how much I loved that game as a kid. And I remember showing it to Will, and she and I would play, and I would just like robotically annihilate her because it was like second nature to me just playing Mario Tennis 64. And that kind of carried into Mario Power Tennis and tennis games after. And then Mario Tennis Aces, is that the one for the Switch? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That game comes out and they like change shit on me, and I tried to play it and I just like could not begin to wrap my head around it because like your racket explodes if your timing is off and you have a life bar, and I fucking like was so upset that because I was like walking in thinking I was the tennis Chad. And I think the internet had a collective that kind of moment with this game because you might remember everyone said the Grade 8 Vegeta boss fight was like so fucking ball fuckingly hard. If you've been playing fighting games besides Tenkaichi in the decades between those two games, I beat it in 2 tries. It's really not hard. But I think that people were used to it being this, like, I guess I would say in the old games, your Kamehameha and your high power rushes have auto aim. You don't have to aim, you don't have to time them very well. You're gonna land your special attack. This one, you actually have to put conscious effort into steering your character in the right direction and waiting until your opponent is vulnerable before just like firing off a blast at them. Because defending yourself in this game is much easier. It's still an imbalanced mess. It's still practically pointless to play as a character besides Ultra Instinct Sign Goku Super Saiyan God times 10, what have you. But it is I would say if I'm playing as a weak character like Yajirobe, and I'm fighting against someone who's playing Vegito but doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, I could win. Yeah. It does actually ask skill of you, which I really like about it, but
Well,
there is
also,
still that. Yeah,
to be
sorry.
fair, isn't Yajirobe like consistently top tier in this game?
No, they just nerfed him hard.
Oh, okay.
They took away, like, because, yes, you're correct, mostly because he had the Senzu Bean ability, which healed, I think, 2 of his life bars. They increased the cost of using that, and also just, like, wholesale took away 1 of his life bars.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That was just kind of an example. Like, I'll say, if I'm playing as Kui, who is, like, Frieza's 3rd best henchman, and somebody else is Perfect Cell, but they don't know what the fuck they're doing, I could still win, and I like that about this game. It's got everybody, it's got all your fucking glup shittos from Dragon Ball.
It doesn't have everyone.
I mean, there's gonna be DLC.
Where the fuck is Nom?
Well, and like, I almost had a twinge of that, where I was like, well, where's the Dragon Ball fighters? But also, like, there's 180 characters, and I'm gonna find someone to complain about? Like...
Yeah, I will say, the DLC was leaked. Potentially.
Well... The thing is, people found the names of every missing character in the code, which could mean there'll be DLC, but I think could also mean they were considered but just didn't quite make it.
Yeah, well, like, basically what I've, like, kind of, heard is that there was, like, a leak that correctly guessed the first 4 characters. Like, And so people are assuming that the other characters on that list are going to be coming too.
Okay, fair. I might ask for you to show me that later then. Because I didn't see anything that specific.
Well, you better watch out because there is a name on there that I think solos Goku in the blink of an eye.
Okay, is it Nom?
Oh, it's not just Nom.
Who is it? Is it because I know Pilaf was in Tenkaichi 3.
Yeah, I was the joke I was making was the Pilaf machine.
Ah, that fucking thing. And like, I really can't be mad. Like, the roster has like one or two instances where I'd say, I think it should have been this character maybe instead of this character. But fucking, the trailers all had a big grid of all the characters, and people fucking counted and said, oh, there'll be 160. Then and people were like, okay, if there's that many, and we know this arc is covered, we're not getting movie villains. Then the last trailer fills the grid with the last few characters. And you hear Goku go, I'm not done yet! And it just gets bigger, and all the movie characters are in. So I really can't be fucking mad. Gosh. I feel like I've said, it is an exquisitely detailed game. The attacks are pulled, like, right out of the anime. You have the characters, like, interacting if you team them up, and, like, reenacting bits from the anime as well. Like, if you set up Goku and Vegeta in a team against Kid Buu, they'll rock, paper, scissors to decide who fights him, because that's how they settled it in the anime. It's wonderful. It is the Dragon Ball fan service machine we've been missing. Let's go. You know what? We've been running a little long. Let's run to the last rotation. You go ahead, Will. I could gas on for hours about Sparking Zero.
No, you're letting me out of prison early?
Go to prison?
Yeah, I can't fucking talk about Dragon Ball. I don't know anything about Dragon Ball.
Well, that's why we're...
Hey, you know what, Dev? Maybe you should look a bit more into Dragon Ball. You could look in lots of places. You could even search the skies.
Let the seas below. Let's try. That's Will's favorite lyric from the theme song when we watch Dragon Ball every Sunday. Because she asked to watch it.
I think maybe y'all belonged in Mario Club, huh?
Jesus, Bill.
See, for a minute I was like, hey! But then, like, before I could even get it out, I was like, no, yeah, he's right.
See, I was worried that, like, with Mortal Kombat, I was, like, too lost in the sauce. But now it's like... So this game has Deborah and Ani Laza, and they have an interesting interaction. They also included Spopovich. They have Bobbity. I would prefer Supreme Kai. All right. Will, take us away from all this.
All right. I'm keeping the spooky theme and, toasting Vampire Survivors. The game that Tommy was supposed to get some achievements for. Well, Tommy, I've gotten all those achievements for you because it is a very addicting game.
Oh, that's what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors is really simple. I didn't really know what was going on when I got into it. But basically, you get a character, and that character can only walk around. That character has a weapon that will basically fire at an enemy, and enemies drop gems. Once you get enough gems, you level up, and you can either get, like, a new weapon or a add-on. A new weapon might be like, oh, you start with the wand. It just shoots a projectile. And then you can get the weapon that's like the axe, and or I guess a more simple one would be the cross. If you're looking away, it'll do the, typical Castlevania cross. What is really cool about it, though, and again, it is a super simple game, but what's really cool is how much it kind of steamrolls out of control. So when you level up, eventually you can have, like, I think 5 weapons, 5 power-ups. You can level up your weapons and power-ups. So let's say you're leveling up the wand. It's level 2. It shoots another beam. So now you have, like, 2 blasts that come out maybe every, like, 10 seconds. But then, as you, like, add up more and more and more, things get fucking crazy. Now, as the time goes on, more enemies attack you. You know, it's, I'm almost, they're getting a Castlevania, like, crossover, but I can't believe that it, like, took this long. But basically, like, a bunch of Castlevania monsters are attacking you, and the more time goes on, the more attack you. But as the more time goes on, the more you level up your weapons. And what's really satisfying is eventually you can get 5 weapons and you can evolve them so they're, like, basically the best possible versions of themselves. And then it becomes fucking chaos. There have been times where I could stand still, and because of my weapon loadout, monsters couldn't touch me. That I could just stand still, all my weapons would just, like, annihilate them, and the screen was almost blank. And I think that's where Vampire Survivors really thrives. I know someone told me that it's, made by people who know gambling, so they know how to, like, activate your, you know, I want it, like, dopamine response.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think I mentioned it when I talked about Balatro last month.
I think that was it, yeah. So it's definitely, like, it's clear that, like, okay, yeah, this is as addictive as it is for a reason. But it's also just, like, a very nice casual game you can play without a whole lot of thought. Like, obviously you have to keep moving, because unless you have, like, every evolved weapon and are, like, sweeping the screen every 3 seconds, you're gonna have to move to get away from the guys while the weapons attack. So there's that sense that, like, okay, you have to kind of play more cautiously at the beginning, and then as you get more weapons, you can kind of, like, play a little gutsier, and by the time you're at the end, it's really satisfying to be like, these things that, like, were chasing me around and cornering me and, like, pushing me in this tiny circle now can't even get close to me. I don't know, there's no story, is there?
Not really. No.
Yeah.
Vampires, and you gotta survive them.
You gotta,
That's true.
I think a long-running joke is also that there aren't really any real vampires in the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, with Castlevania, but yeah, honestly, it's just like a very nice game for sitting back, relaxing, playing a few matches, and then eventually, you know, getting to the point where you're like, hey, I did a pretty good weapon spread. And I also think it's cool because you do have to kind of think about the weapon spread, because certain weapons kind of have overlap, but it's fun once you, like, get to know all the weapons, because then you can plan out, like, okay, this is going to be the weapons I go for. These are going to be the power-ups I go for. Let's see how it changes from my previous run, you know?
Yeah, it always looked fucking addicting. I just don't like to do what I'm told, so I was a naughty boy. Or a swooey boy. And when Dev tried to get me to... I think Dev bought it for me. And I was just like, no.
No, I mean, that's pretty much all I was going to say. Dab, I know you've played this a little bit, so I'd like to hear your thoughts, too.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp. It's a very addicting game. Every once in a while, I'll just, like, pick it up and get sucked into it, because it's, like I said, just mixing it up with which weapons you choose to grab first and which ones to upgrade is really fun. And there are, like, a million different ways to end up steamrolling it, and there are also some ways that you'll just die very early, but for the most part, if you survive long enough, I think you're generally kind of on your way towards just, like, clearing thousands of enemies off the screen.
I know, getting that that, like, enemy death counter up is so fucking satisfying when it goes up to, like, oh hey, we're at 20,000 now.
Yeah. You just it's a lot of the feelings that you get from playing like a Muso, like Hyrule Warriors or something.
Mhm.
Like you're just clearing everything off the screen, but in this case you're not even like pressing any buttons. You're just going around collecting gems and putting points into whatever feels right. And like you said, beyond like even just the game just being fun on its own, there's so much like like gambling mobile game sort of psychology injected into this. Like every sound effect is just tickles your brain, and then when you finally get power-ups or when you open up chests and it's like a slot machine giving you a ton of gold and power-ups, it's just it hooks you. It really hooks you. It's such a great game. And the Castlevania crossover I think comes out in like a couple days.
Oh shit.
So that'll be cool.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I think it's just like it's a really solid game that the film. No, it's just like a really solid game that like, you know, is great to play kind of in between things. I think it's definitely worth a shot. I think Sherman, you would like it quite a bit, and since, you know, you have it, it's worth giving it a shot, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe after I play Rivals of Ether.
Oh god. Well, I mean, yeah.
Swilly.
Dab, do you have anything else to say about the game, or can I pass it over?
Not other than go play it. It's fun. It's a fun time. Just you know, make sure you're responsible enough to get back to the things you need to get back to. Like if Balatro is consistently keeping you from getting your homework done and taking a shower, then maybe avoid this one because it'll just double the issue for you.
Oh yeah, because this is like, I would say I haven't played Balatro, but it just seems like this is that times 10.
They're both similarly addicting games. I think either one really has the potential to just keep you from being productive forever.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm gonna go play some Vampire Survivors. It's your turn, Dab.
Okay. I'm gonna switch gears from video games to a TV show. And by a TV show, I mean a single season of a TV show. And by a single season of a TV show, I mean season 1 of The Terror from AMC.
From KFC?
Wow, you weren't kidding. You just booted up Vampire Survivors. I saw the notification. World record speed run for, or I guess that's a world record for avoiding turning the game on for anybody on the planet. Anyway, The Terror is an American supernatural horror, technically an anthology, developed for AMC, and it's not an anthology in the same way as like Love, Death, and Robots. It's more like what was that? The Haunting of Hill House, like season to season, basically.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And so basically the premise of it is the namesake The Terror comes from the book that it is based on, The Terror by Dan Simmons. I think that initially this was not planned to be a like a multi-season thing, and to be honest at this point I don't know why it is, because the first season is a fictionalized retelling of Franklin's Lost Expedition, which was a real-life British expedition to the Arctic, which basically had the goal of finding more navigable sections of the Northwest Passage north of Canada to try to like make it easier to trade to East Asia, because they didn't want to be heading south anymore, and I think this was before the Panama Canal and all that, so they were just trying to find easier trade routes, so they sent their guys north. It was about 129 men. They were led by Captain Sir John Franklin. That's why it's called Franklin's Lost Expedition. They departed from England in 1845 aboard 2 ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror. And the ships at some point became icebound, and after over a year of being just stuck on the ice, And after 24 men died while they were waiting, everybody else decided to basically walk out of the ships and start heading south toward mainland Canada. One of the people who died while they were icebound was Captain Sir John Franklin, so there were some changes in leadership, and we don't have a lot of information about what happened. You know, there are some notes here and there that were found kind of years later, but all we really know is that after the remaining 100 or so men left the ships and headed south, they all disappeared and were never heard from again. So what the Terror basically does is it presents this story. There's a decent amount of historical accuracy. It does tend to abide by a lot of what we do know about what happened, but it kind of asks the question, okay, we don't really know what happened here, so what if, while they were trying to survive the Arctic and while they were stuck on these ships, they were being constantly stalked and hunted down by a demigod polar bear with a human face?
Right?
Yeah, good. I've been asking the same thing.
And that's basically the premise of the show, is this actual historical event wrapped around this supernatural horror of this giant, horrifying polar bear creature that is tied with Inuit culture, just out for blood, just hunting down these guys. And it's fucking awesome. It's a 10-episode series, or at least it's a 10-episode season. The second season, which I'm probably never going to watch, did not get nearly as good reviews. It's it like takes place in like an internment camp in like Japanese American internment camp during World War II. And I know that there's a third season on the way, and I just question why any of these are called The Terror when none of them have anything to do with The Terror. But whatever, I guess they gotta coast off the name somehow. But overall, it's a really good, well-performed, well-written, and just really riveting, like, first season. The
Riveting?
story it's riveting. The story wraps itself up in the first season. It's it's a complete story. I think it's absolutely worth watching because it does some really great horror things. There's some great drama. It's a very interesting just take on this actual event, basically. Just like, it's from an era where, it's not the same thing as like putting fucking Frankenstein in the World Trade Center during 9/11 or something. Nobody's gonna get offended about a supernatural element being added to this actual event, and it's enigmatic enough, and we know little enough about it that it works. It's interesting historical fictionalized horror.
I mean,
That's really
honestly,
Sorry,
yeah,
Bo,
it's
go
got.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, does it kind of have like Mountains of Madness vibes?
I don't know if I've ever like read Mountains of Madness.
Ah, damn it. I guess like. I'm guessing the polar bear you mentioned is like very hidden most of the time, right?
Yeah, like during the first like half of the series, it's basically never shown like at all. It's just like camera POV shots, and then they slowly kind of reveal it over the course of the season.
Yeah, I like that concept for like a monster. I think that sounds really cool.
It's a really freaky monster too. It's basically as I described. It's basically just a giant polar bear with human-like features, like for its face.
I already don't fuck with polar bears. Those are fucking. They're like 10 times worse than any other. They're not just they're like, oh man. Like, they're like, I think 10 times, like, a lot bigger than a grizzly bear.
They're gigantic, and they actually do hunt people.
Yeah.
Like they're not like other bears where they're trying to keep to themselves. They're passive. It's like if anything that could possibly be food for them up there in the Arctic, they are going to make food out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we toasted polar bears. Good animal.
Yeah. But
when you say human face, is it like
it's not like a full-on human. Like it's clearly still like
It's
an
not
animal.
cats.
But no, it's not cats. It's just that
right?
its face is much closer to. It's got like human eyes practically.
Okay.
It's kind of implied to be like this. It's called the what was it? The Toonback. And I think it's based off of an actual like Inuit legend. It's not the same name or anything. But yeah, it's sort of put forth as basically like this Inuit sort of demigod-like creature. It's like a deity sort of, and it's just not happy that all these white dudes are washed up in its territory. So it's hunting them down, and I think what's kind of interesting about it is, in real life, as this event went down, I can assume that they weren't actually being hunted down by a deity spirit polar bear, but they all still died. So
Right.
it's kind of interesting to contextualize it in that way, because you're thinking about like, okay, it's already a hopeless situation. In real life, they didn't have any animals hunting them down and they still all died. In the show, they have this impossible to defeat monster constantly hunting them down and eating them. Like that's even more horrific, more hopelessness on an already hopeless situation.
Yeah, jeez. Do you know if is like the thing they used to build the polar bear, is it like CGI? Is it a costume?
It's CGI for sure. It's definitely CG.
Fair enough, but it's as long as it's pretty good, I think that's fine.
Yeah, and it mostly appears in dark shots. For the most part, it's very dark. It doesn't look too bad or anything, but yeah, I still think it does a very good job of getting the like scariness across.
The terror, you would say?
The terror, yes, the terrors.
I, for one, can't wait for Haunted Hotel 4. I don't know about you guys.
We should do a piece of like historical horror about demonic coconut crabs that killed Amelia Earhart.
Yeah, except Amelia Earhart should be the bad guy in that movie.
What?
Yeah, it'll be just
how dare women try to fly planes?
Exactly, Tommy. Thank you.
Women can't do shit without getting eaten by coconut crabs.
Yeah, that's true.
So, what do we call her? What's her name? I already forgot.
Sophronia?
Sophronia! What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say I want to be referred to now as Suf Coconut Crab.
Suf Coconut Crab.
Yeah.
What if you were a surf and turf dish, and you were Surf Coconut Crab?
Yeah, I think you know what? I've officially found a new name.
Surf Coconut Crab.
Yeah.
I hereby dub thee Madame Surf Coconut Crab.
Yeah, fucking finally. And you better watch your ass, Tommy, or I'm gonna show you that coconut crabs can.
Should it be maybe just Madame Coconut Crab, because it's like Madame Butterfly. It's like a title.
Honestly, I feel like that is a very fitting name for me.
Madame Coconut Crab.
It's like I don't know, it feels like a D-list Spider-Man villain, like, oh no, it's Madame Coconut Crab!
Why was I so invested in my research on coconut crabs? Name of the episode, put a pin in it. Alright.
I love coconut crabs.
Alright. Shall I take the last rotation, toast or roast?
Yep, I'll pass it off to you.
Alright. Well, I have to break the streak of creepy things, which is why I saved it for last. So we'll wake up from the scary dreams and go back to the club. because I'm talking about.
God.
I could not leave this podcast without talking about Megalopolis, baby. Much like Late Night with the Devil, I had reservations about the ethics of in any way endorsing this film, but I do not have the moral fiber of Madame Coconut Crab and her tough shell. I just want to say up front that I hope Francis Ford Coppola gets his ass kicked. I don't, I go to bat.
Honestly, hope he dies.
I hope. And by the way, anyway, sorry. I'll go to bat for directors that I think are just misunderstood geniuses. He's just a creep. I'm not gonna. You won't see me. Sorry, what?
He doesn't belong here.
Is that? But you know what? I think everybody should check out Megalopolis in whatever way they want to, because it is so. Yeah. Oh yes, yes. If you get an opportunity to see, yes. If you get an opportunity to see Megalopolis, you do. Yes. So Francis Ford Coppola had this bananas fucking idea about an architect who discovers a mineral or metal that adapts in real time called Megalon, and he theorizes they can build a city with it called Megalopolis, and he creates ancient Roman architecture with it and all that good stuff, and every person he asked for money to make this movie said, "What?" and did not give him money. So he sold his wine vineyard and funded it himself. And we have it, and it premiered at film festivals, and everyone was like, "Oh," because it is just as fucking bizarre as you would believe. So we got Adam Driver in the lead with his legendary line delivery. I guess as I watched this film, what kind of occurred to me was that what was uncanny and strange about it, what was turning people off, outside of it being borderline gibberish, is that it's directed like a play. The characters kind of sing their lines out. I would wager some of them are speaking in iambic pentameter. There's two characters having political debates in the rafters of a warehouse. And I was back in the University of Northern Colorado watching an indecipherable adaptation, concept heavy, of Jesus Christ Superstar or Major Barbara. And it worked for me, frankly.
I don't know, Tommy. I mean, just because it worked for you, I don't think that entitles you to talk about it this long.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Entitles me?
Yes.
Oh man, that's the part that got posted by the Lionsgate YouTube page. I think when this does make it a little bigger on digital, there's 1,000 scenes that are going to be better. Aubrey Plaza plays a character named Wow Platinum, who's a media pundit. And I will just say, someone was very excited, and they posted a picture of a guy's eyes popping out, and it just says Auntie Wow scene on the main feed. That's all I'll leave it to there.
That's like skibbity toilet level gibberish.
I don't think you're ready for the context of Auntie Wow. I think the hardest I laughed, it was a small thing. Shia LaBeouf is kind of another bad guy in it, and he's got a fedora and a big coat on. They're going into a bank or something, and he's got 3 or 4 mooks behind him, also with hats. And Shia LaBeouf just takes his own hat off, and throws it behind him and goes, "Pick that up!" And then instead of picking up the hat, one of his goons takes his hat off and throws it down and tells another one, "Pick that up!"
What the? This is an I think you should leave sketch.
Chloe Feynman is in it, and she flubs her line in one scene.
That's
She
great.
she straight up fucks up and they leave it in, and I kind of love that about it. Partly, I think what I couldn't help but take it away from it is that it leans into the like bizarre play concept of it. Like she
Like Oblivion.
stutters over. Sorry.
It's just like Oblivion, the fucking the voice
Let me
acting.
try that line again.
Let me do that one again.
Yeah. It does truly. It's like the way somebody would just like step on a line on accident on stage. She just has this like, and the characters are so like heightened and marionette-ish that like it's the most human thing anyone does. Is she kind of goes, "My cousin," like I kind of love it. It's just so bizarre. Um, Definitely some really strange things in it. I'm trying to pick out, like I said, Francis Ford Coppola's a perv, and there's a subplot about a man being exonerated for sex crimes that he didn't actually commit. So take that how you will. Yeah,
They
not
got
great.
you, boy.
They got your points, but like, I just thought, you know what, like. I just can't help but germane to the discussion of AI. It won't be long until we can't see this shit in a theater again. Like, are you kidding me? Um, I kind of loved it for what it was. It's very Italian and very theatrical and very bizarre. So it's kind of my thing. I, you both know me. I can be very, very opinionated. I can get a little punchy if someone just says that something I love is secretly poo poo. I'm not going to fight you on this if you don't like it. Like, it is bizarre and it is indecipherable, but I think it's special because of that. I kind of loved it.
Yeah, I do
Sorry.
wanna quickly tell a story that I was hanging out with Danuta, and we were talking about movies, and she said that she saw Megalopolis in theaters, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's one of Tommy's like new favorite movies. I think he rated it a 9 out of 10," and she started laughing.
Well, I think Danuta just hates to see an Italian winning.
Danuta,
Are we ready for the news?
here's the news.
All right. I'll tell you who's ready for the news. Blade in the MCU. New York Comic Con happened this week, and I kind of had my eye out for big news bulletins. But truly, the biggest headline I'd say is that Marvel threw their hands up and said, "We don't know what to do with Blade. We're taking it off the schedule." What do we?
Very funny, honestly. I have nothing but like joy with the fact that that was announced.
Man, and it's like, not to say making movies are in any way easy, but when Marvel is like cranking out movies at the rate they are, I don't get what it could be about Blade of all people that's making it difficult.
Yeah, it's literally just like Vampire John Wick, and like they keep, like, this is a bit of like hearsay, but like they keep saying that like, what's not hearsay is that people keep like entering and exiting the project, but also that like every time they do a new draft of the script, allegedly it just like keeps getting worse. Like they're like, oh, we gotta go back, we gotta try this again.
Right. Well, there's also kind of, because Ryan Coogler, who made the Black Panther movies, is making his own vampire movie next year. And I wonder if they're like having a hard time competing and or want to keep an eye on it to see if they want him to direct it after all.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I suppose. I'd hate if he just like got sucked back into the Marvel machine. Speaking of people like walking on stage and kind of showing their ass, Sony walked out and said, "No Spider-Man 2 DLC. You're welcome."
Yeah, that sucks.
And we were talking
if it's more
sorry.
down to Sony or if it's more down to Insomniac or like whose fault that is, but boy,
we were gonna get a fucking Carnage DLC, and now we're never getting. Like Carnage is never showing up.
They'll probably like I feel like Spider-Man 3 will finish it out, but it'll be a side quest like it is in 2.
That would make sense, yeah.
And we talk about this all the time, but just like the weird underestimation of, not even weird underestimation, just like the massive, no, the games aren't that expensive. Like Netflix just shut down its like AAA game studio because they were like, oh fuck, this shit costs money. And Spider-Man 2, I imagine, sold well in the grand scheme of things in a vacuum, but still just did not meet like gargantuan expectations to warrant its additional content that was planned out and ready to get made.
Yeah, I mean, studio execs really do not understand, like, anything that is art or creative to them is all just a big blob that they don't understand. It's like, okay, with a movie, if you want to have like a scene in a forest, right? You can either go to a forest and film there, or you can have the big old blue screen and, you know, render in some trees in the background. But if you're making a video game and you want to have something that takes place in a forest, you have to individually create and render every single tree and blade of grass because the player could go to any of those at any time. It's
You
like
have to
every
build
other
the
creative
forest.
medium. Yeah, you have to build the forest. It's every other
Right.
creative turned up to 11 because you have to do fucking everything. They are so expensive and they take so much time to make because that's what they demand.
And all anyone wants to make is the most expensive possible version where you can like see every follicle on Joel Last of Us's face.
Exactly.
Right. Daredevil Born Again is coming in March. Do we care?
I mean, Daredevil's one of my favorite Marvel heroes, but I'm worried.
Probably watch it, but it's, you know, I'm at the point now where something comes out with the MCU, and I feel like I'm kind of late to this, but something will come out for the MCU, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, Agatha has been going, apparently. I haven't watched a single second of that. I don't even know what it's about.
To be fair, Jay and I have been watching Agatha, and it's honestly, like, pretty solid.
It does seem like the better, like, at least from what I've heard, it seems like it's kind of one of the better things they've put out lately, but...
It barely has anything to do with, like, the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe besides, like, you know, Agatha herself, and I will say, like, one other character, so I think it's nice as, like, a, you know, just self-contained, hey, remember Agatha? Well, here's what she's been up to.
That's nice.
Well, it's my understanding that Agatha is so, like, different from her comics counterpart that it might as well just be a show where Catherine Hahn plays a witch, you know?
Yeah, I think that's true, but it's the same Agatha from, you know, WandaVision, so I think that's why.
I really didn't
Fair.
love WandaVision, though. It's a step up from that, though, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like there's nothing quite as like, wait, what the fuck, as the ending of WandaVision, at least so far.
Were those the only... Yeah, and then, like, there's a lot of other small stuff. I guess it's really San Diego Comic-Con that's the big one. New York didn't have much else in way of announcements. Luca Guadagnino of Challenger's directing fame wants to do a remake of American Psycho.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I'm gonna go against the grain and say it's fine, because the original was based off a book, and as long as it's not trying to remake the movie, then whatever.
Yeah,
I
from
just
what I
feel
hear,
like-
yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
like, judging off of, like, the Patrick Bateman Sigma memes, I just, like, even if it's, like, done to perfection, you know there's gonna be people that are like, finally, they show Patrick Bateman for the hero he is.
They
There
would need
is-
to be careful about how
Sorry.
they present it all, because number one, I feel like the idea of like the white Wall Street investment banker who's like a yuppie and super rich off his father's money in New York City. I feel like that image is not really like the first thing you think of when you think of a rich person anymore.
So they're gonna make him like a tech bro.
It's gonna be like a Silicon Valley tech bro or something. I think that would have to be the direction they take it if they want to modernize it.
God, instead of talking about Huey Lewis in the news, he's gonna be like, "You ever hear about Delicious in Dungeon?"
Watch Sword Art Online.
I guess my thing is that Luca, as a there's a certain gaze to his directing that when I think of challengers, it's like even though they're very flawed people, they're very pretty people, and it comes off very. I think no small part of the fun and the appeal of challengers is it's very eroticized and I can't even think of what else I'm looking for. Very erotic in both homo and hetero ways. And I wonder if you would I think there could be an element of that to Patrick Bateman, but I think that it is an ingredient you can put a little too much in and take it to a weird place.
I don't think any of Patrick Bateman's sex scenes should actually be the slightest bit sexy.
No.
Yeah.
When he's got the two legs right here.
Just pointing at the camera.
Don't just look at it, eat it.
Sorry, I'm gonna grab my phone. There's one other note I made for a thing I wanted to talk about.
Well, Dab, do you wanna say some of the news that you were collecting?
Okay. English language Squid game is in development from David Fincher.
The Finch man.
The Finch man.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why anyone would want that,
Want what? Sorry.
We were
English,
talking earlier.
Squid Game.
Oh, that's the thing I went to grab my phone fucking for.
Yeah, I figured that's what
No, you're fine.
But we were talking earlier about how Tommy's peers are using ChatGPT to generate tests. I genuinely think people are too fucking lazy to read subtitles, and they don't want a English dubbed experience. So this is the middle ground to appease them.
It's a waste of the talent of fucking David Fincher, one of the best filmmakers ever.
The Finch man.
The Finch man, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was... Alright, Dad, what else did you have in your docket? Because that was my last thing.
Invincible Season 3 is releasing February 6th.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing news.
These are basically just going to be their headlines. That's basically all the info we have on it, other than I think that Season 4 is also in development. I think they mentioned that. It seems like we're going to be waiting a lot less time between seasons now.
God, that's so nice.
Hallelujah.
And this is the full season. It's not they're not going to do a mid-season break.
Yes! Oh, thank God.
Because I still haven't finished Invincible Season 2, because I forgot that there was a break.
It's so good, David.
I'm going to finish.
Great.
I'm definitely
I know it's not your fault. It's good. It's good. Sorry.
It's good. Rick and Morty has been renewed through Season 12.
Oh.
Season 8 is premiering next year, so...
Oh my God!
I don't really get this. Look, I think the last season of Rick and Morty I watched was maybe Season 6. It was right before the voice actors changed. And I didn't really stop watching it because, it got bad or anything. It was still a decent show. It's just, I feel like I've had my fill of Rick and Morty.
Right.
I don't know if...
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It just feels like it's going on for so long.
Yeah, it's not... It just doesn't... I don't know, it's trying to be like the next Simpsons or whatever, and I don't feel like it has quite the staying power as those other shows. I don't think it can really last this long.
I mean, to be honest, I kind of forget that Rick and Morty exists until it's brought up again.
Yeah. It's kind of a tragic show. With what's his face, Justin Roiland, being himself. Alright, beyond that little dystopia, Kamala won Nickelodeon's Kid Picked the President.
Oh, thank God.
And they, well, see, the Nickelodeon Kids Pick the President has been correct all but 2 times. So...
Was it, did they predict Trump winning?
They predicted Hillary winning when Trump won, and then the other time they were wrong, I think, was for Bush's second term, where they thought it was going to be the Democrat.
John Kerry.
Those were the only 2 times that they, John Kerry. Those were the only 2 times that they were incorrect.
Okay, interesting. There's a certain political soothsayer. I don't know what the sorry, just a observer who has correctly predicted the president, I think, every time except one, and that one time was between Bush and Gore, where it was practically a toss-up. And
Gore
he did
technically won anyway. Fuck
Yeah.
And he predicted Kamala winning, so I feel pretty comfortable with that.
I mean, still, for our audiences at home, you better go out and vote.
Yeah, absolutely. No
Go
room
out
for
and vote.
complacency.
Election day is in just over a week now, and who knows if we'll even... Yeah, it's crazy to say it, but the best case scenario that we can say right now is that we definitively have a presidential elect next week.
Oh yeah.
At all. Because fucking the recent Republican conventions were trying to sow the seeds of doubt already because they know the writing's on the wall. They just know if Trump loses, get out there and dispute it like they did with Bush and Gore. But that's the thing, is like the reason that they were able to do that with Bush and Gore is because the results were that close. So get out and vote and make sure they aren't that close.
And don't make a big deal about that you don't like Kamala. She's not my friend. I don't fucking like her, but vote for her, for Christ's sake. Don't.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a revolution overnight.
No, yeah.
Do what's best to stop the ship sinking for now, and then we can worry about fucking who's the good Democrat and who's the bad Democrat or whatever later on.
Yeah.
Man.
Let's see. Toho acquires Gkids.
Are we really doing?
Are you ready to call it, Tommy?
We're jumping from the election to Toho acquires Gkid.
Yeah, we are. Fucking, this is more important.
Elaborate.
Gkids, who have had the rights for Ghibli films for about 10 years now. Probably a little over that at this point. They've been putting out some really great anime movies into the theaters. I recently went and watched another one that I'm going to toast on the next podcast. I just couldn't this time because it's not spooky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they've been acquired by Toho, and I'm just hoping that this means more Godzilla localizations over here. I can't really say what this further spells out in terms of how the dynamics of distribution are going to go. But if it means more Godzilla localization, especially for like the Heisei era, which has been deeply neglected in that department, then I'm all for it. But I don't know. It's more companies merging together, as is the pattern lately.
A little worrying, but...
Yeah, could be a bad thing, could be a good thing, who knows. I will say that the name Gkids is something I've always had a problem with, because I feel like it just contributes to the issue of people seeing animation as for children.
Right.
But we will see, I suppose. Other than that, Killer 7 is fucked.
Oh yeah. Speaking of AI.
Right.
Yeah. Continue
Well,
our
did they-
AI conversation earlier.
Well, did they? Okay, I guess maybe dumbass question. Did the AI upscale it or generate like something with it?
Upscaling, but in like a really awful way. It's
Hmm.
they did the upscaling on like the FMV anime cutscenes, and it looks like basically if you've ever seen those like 60 frame per second interpolated like anime
Yes.
openings,
Yeah.
it looks like that, but like constantly, and it sucks ass.
That's awful. Gross. Someone with their
Try.
thumb up their ass is like, why didn't it look like this the whole time? Like,
It's so blatantly terrible. I hope that it gets an update to just revert it or something. I know that there are mods out there already to fix it, but come on. Like the game was fine as it was before. It would have been better to just do nothing. But it's still a great game. You should still play it.
yeah. They're in a tight spot. Bastard.
They're in a tight spot. And you know what?
Well, yeah.
I'll tell you something about women if you win this game of Russian roulette.
Something about women.
Final honorable mentions in terms of the news. Loose. The Catholic Church, the Vatican, has revealed their mascot for this Jubilee year, and it is an anime girl named Luce.
Oh,
And
word?
she looks like a Catholic pilgrim, and she's got like a rosary. And I'm not Catholic anymore, you know, I'm excommunicated, but I respect it. Jubilees happen like once every like 25 years or so, and this is what they're going with this time.
I'm the drawing of the guy that's like lying down and then just kind of looking up going, oh really? Shit, really?
Shit, really? So good thing the Pope was played. Didn't somebody play Megalovania for the Pope?
I believe so, yeah.
Matt Pat like showed him Undertale, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe both of it. Yeah, so I think his brain has been ruined, and now we've got an anime girl mascot officially for the fucking Vatican Jubilee. Lastly, one more just spark of greatness and wonderfulness, and possibly not greatness, is Steins Gate reboot coming next year.
Oh, I actually didn't hear about that.
There was an announcement that Steins Gate will continue, and it was kind of vague, and then a couple weeks later they showed off a bunch of art for basically a full-up remake of the original Steins Gate visual novel. The art looks honestly very nice. I think it looks very promising. I will almost certainly check it out when it comes out. I hope it's better than Steins Gate Elite.
So, is it a remake of the visual novel, not necessarily the anime?
Right, yeah, the visual novel.
Okay. Maybe they'll take out the jokes about that guy fucking his daughter.
They're gonna put in even more.
Yeah, they're gonna put more. He's like the one character they haven't shown his redesign for yet, so I'm really curious if he's just the same person.
Oh no, he's hot! Well, I'll be awake all night in fear of the haunted Tesla coming to get me, and I'm Tommy.
And I'm gonna be up in fear all night thinking of the fucking substance, because Jesus Christ. And I'm Will.
No, you're...
Sorry, what is it? I'm Madame Coconut Crab.
And I'm gonna be up all night thinking about how insulin is like not free and stuff, and like go out and vote or whatever. It's not gonna fix it, but like, you know, because I'm diabetic and I'm Dav.
Happy Halloween! Ooh.